I got comments from multiple subscribers on my YouTube channel to talk about the fact that there are people now making content predominantly on TikTok discouraging people from participating in the No King's Day protests that are coming up on June 14th. Claims go something like this. Well, look at what's happening in LA. Those are peaceful protests, but there are a few agitators, instigators who are destroying property. And that is giving the LAPD an excuse to crack down and use violent measures. We could talk about how the mayor of LA said that the LAPD was committed to protecting peaceful protesters' rights, but yet we've seen them do things like shoot a journalist in the back of a leg with a rubber bullet. And to be clear, rubber bullets are different than you think. They're really big and they actually cause a lot of injury. I have multiple friends who were injured by them in Portland in 2020. There have been people killed by them. That's why they're called less lethal ammunition. There's a video on my Blue Sky of a man on the ground who is purposefully being trampled repeatedly by the LAPD, mounted LAPD, by their horses. And there's tons of footage of ICE being brutal, including beating an unarmed man in the back with a large baton. Like, we know that the state, we know law enforcement, they're going to use any excuse they can to brutalize protesters. That's why it's so important that we commit to our nonviolent discipline so that we give them no room, no excuse to behave that way. And I just want to encourage you, before the April 5th protests, there were also these kinds of videos. And I honestly, I'm really suspicious of anybody who makes that kind of content. Don't show up, don't protest, you guys. The cops are, they're going to beat on you. They're going to use this as an excuse to roll out martial law. That's not going to happen. They're going to use this as an excuse to do X, Y, Z and brutalize you. So don't show up. It's not safe. It's not safe. I'm immediately suspicious of anybody who makes content like that. Why are people wanting you to give up your constitutional right to free speech in advance? Why are they wanting you to sit down and hide and not exercise your rights? Why are they trying to intimidate you into not exercising your rights? So if I see somebody making that kind of content, I'm suspicious right off the bat. But also, let's for a second assume positive intent, right? People can have really bad anxiety. It's really easy to catastrophize. The Trump regime tells you they're big and powerful and they will do anything they want and nobody can stop them, except that's not true, right? What they say is not actually accurate at all. So it's really easy to give into our fears. It's really easy to do exactly what Trump wants and to let him plant those seeds of anxiety, to let him create fear that makes you so escalated that you obey in advance, you cede your right to protest. So that's what happened in advance of April 5th. There were these videos that were like, it's not going to be safe. Don't bring your family. Don't go protest. It's going to be, a big crackdown from the federal government. He's going to use this as an excuse to institute martial law. And then none of that happened. It was overwhelmingly millions and millions of people turned out. It was entirely peaceful. And I don't think I can't find any credible accounts of protesters getting arrested. There was at least one counter-protester who did get arrested, who was protesting for Trump. But anytime you have massive pro-democracy protests, and June 14th is shaping up to be the largest protest in the history of the United States of America, there are odds that there will be instigators there will be bad actors who are there to try and fuck shit up for everybody else, and there also will be accelerationists. We see them in Portland all the time. Folks who want to watch the world burn, right? Folks who are hoping to draw the police into violent conflict with protesters because they think that will somehow bring about their revolutionary goals. People who are misguided into thinking the way that you achieve progress is by creating a situation in which you provoke violence. But then there also are going to be those bad actors who are hoping to destroy property and then blame it on peaceful protesters. They're going to be bad actors who are going to try and start shit with the cops so that they can draw everybody in because they ultimately want to sabotage the movement. Right, so just to be clear here, there's the accelerationists who want to co-opt the protest for their own violent ambitions. And then there are the kind of bad faith actors, the kind of agitators who are actually opposed to what the protesters are doing and want to spoil it, want to give the state an excuse to delegitimize the peaceful protests. Hang on, there's a truck coming. So instead of freaking out that either of those groups might be at your protest trying to spoil what you're doing, instead of looking at the possibility of those groups being there as a reason that you should not protest at all, a reason that you should give up your rights, instead plan for it, right? Instead say, those folks, they might show up. So how are we going to handle it when they do? If this is a thing that might happen, let's have a little radical acceptance about it and say, What are we going to do to prepare all of our peaceful protesters, all of the, safety volunteers, all of the medics? What are we going to do to communicate to everybody that we are going to have a coordinated response should accelerationists or agitators show up and try and spoil things for us? Don't give up our right to peacefully protest because there might be some bad actors. Like, why would you give them that victory? Why would you roll over so easily? So first off, we set the expectation that just like April 5th hands off, that June 14th, No King's Day, will be entirely peaceful, that everybody there is committed to peaceful protest. These are family-friendly, non-violent events where we are celebrating the American people, we are celebrating democracy, and we are absolutely doing everything legally. We are engaging in our First Amendment rights. So we set that expectation. Anybody who violates that expectation, they're not with us. We don't know who they are, but they are not with us. This is when it's a good time to have your group do some de-escalation training and also game out in advance how you're going to deal with those folks should they show up. One strategy that is often employed, and it got brought up in a recent Indivisible meeting, is like, hey, be aware that this is a really good tactic to use should people at your protest start breaking shit, is that you let everybody in your group know ahead of time if you see an instigator, if you see somebody who is trying to riot, is escalating things with the cops, is trying to destroy property, everybody in your group stops and sits down. That's it. There's a signal that y'all need to have. You pass it through your safety team or whatever. Everybody in the group, you sit down. And that clearly communicates, we are not with them. We don't approve of what they're doing. You don't get to use their behavior as an excuse to justify violence against us. They are not part of us. That those outside agitators, they can break their shit and they can do their thing, but they're not going to let the rest of the protest, the peaceful protest, get drawn into it. It creates a really clear distinction. All of the peaceful protesters are sitting on the ground, and the person who's smashing shit, they're not part of us. There are lots of other strategies that you can employ when these situations arise. Just game it out. Be prepared. Good activism is planning and preparing and anticipating when things might go sideways and making sure that everybody in your group knows, hey, if this thing happens, we're all prepared to do X, Y, Z to make sure that we nip it in the bud. We all know the best way to de-escalate the situation and keep our protests safe and peaceful. There are lots of other strategies that you can employ. This is why it's just so crucial that everybody right now, not just the organizers, all of us, take any de-escalation training we possibly can. Incredibly, incredibly important skills to have right now. So I don't want folks to worry about June 14th. We are setting the expectation. This will be peaceful. This will be fun. This will be family friendly. And it's going to be that way, just like it was on April 5th. If you see people making content on social media, doomer content, negative content, content trying to get you to give up in advance, content trying to freak you out so that you abandon your rights, do not listen to those folks. Go ahead and block them. I've blocked a lot of them. Surprisingly, I would say 95% of them have all been white men. Like, who has the most privilege? Who is the least impacted if this regime rolls on through? Nobody else has the luxury of doomerism like that. And if it's like just somebody who's catastrophizing on social media, maybe give them a little dose of truth. Like, hey, maybe you need to step away right now because what you're doing is discouraging other people. What you're doing is spreading demoralizing content, spreading paranoia on the internet, and it's not helpful for the pro-democracy cause. Your feelings are yours to deal with. If your anxiety is really high, take it off the internet. Go talk to your therapist. Go talk to a trusted friend who can help you kind of bring it back down. The internet right now, the pro-democracy movement, is not a place for you to take your anxiety out on everybody else. This is not a place for you to plaster your feelings everywhere because your distress is really high and you don't know how to deal with it. You don't get to be a detractor. You don't get to unintentionally sabotage the pro-democracy movement by making content like that. I'm getting to a place where I have less and less patience for people who make that kind of content, if you couldn't tell. So yeah, we're all going to show up on June 14th. It's going to be entirely peaceful. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really encouraging and empowering. Please don't listen to people who are catastrophizing. Please understand that if we plan well, the event is going to go well. And these events are very well planned. We are exercising our rights. We are showing the entire world that the American people do not approve of the cruel, chaotic, illegal regime of Donald Trump, and that we are working toward restoring American democracy, a country of, by, and for the people.